There's a lot of attention these days paid to methane as a greenhouse gas because in the first 20 years after it's been released, it's roughly 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide. So if you want to do something in the short term for climate change, then stopping methane emissions is a very good way to do it. I'm going to talk to economist Ed Hurst from the University of Houston about methane emissions in the Permian Basin, which is the biggest oil and gas basin in the US. So welcome to the interview, Ed.
Thank you, Markham.
Now, look, we're talking about a lot of natural gas because the Permian produces about 18 billion cubic feet a day, which is roughly equivalent to what all of Canada produces. And Canada is, I think, the fourth or fifth biggest producer in the world. And a lot of that methane is leaked out, emitted into the atmosphere in the Permian. So what's the take in Texas on reducing those emissions?
Well, certainly a lot of the producers who are on purpose methane producers are capturing that and selling it. And so as a percentage of the total supply coming out of the Permian Basin, it's a very, very small percentage, but it is a massive amount. I mean, we're looking at percentages and wholes and fragments versus wholes. And quite honestly, over the past 3 or 4 years, as the oil patch has suffered with the low oil prices, there just hasn't been enough cash running around for these producers to do what they need to do to reduce the methane emissions. A lot of the methane is co-produced or associated production with the oil. And so that's been one of the great challenges in the basin. Can they economically connect flow lines and then get the methane out? It's only been recently that we've been able to connect those lines to the El Paso Waha terminal going out to California, and there were upsets on that over the summer, and then the new gas line down to Mexico. It's an issue of catching up.
So is this?
Certainly with natural gas prices now north of $5 an MCF, these producers have every incentive to grab every stray molecule.
So is this primarily a case of not enough infrastructure to collect the gas and take it to market?
That's it. It's an issue of just catching up. The Permian exploded to more than 4 million barrels a day of production pre-pandemic. I don't know that it'll ever get back to that level, but there's an awful lot of associated gas that's produced with this oil, especially in the areas that were kind of marginal. And again, if it's kind of marginal, and you can tell that with the producers who report everything in BOE as opposed to barrels and then MCF or BCF, that is a clue that they're accessing a lot more of the gas, and they need to have a way to get it to market.
Now, the Texas Railroad Commission, which regulates the oil and gas in Texas, has a reputation as being pretty producer friendly. Is the commission taking some steps to regulate methane emissions and try to get it down?
Yes, but these are slow steps. The Railroad Commission never moves with haste. I mean, for example, the earthquakes with disposed water in Oklahoma, where the Oklahoma Corporation Commissioners are not affiliated with producers, it took them about 3 weeks to ban disposal wells. In Texas, well, things have slowed down a bit, and they're still studying it. So, the three commissioners are all industry folks. As we say in Texas, we don't have any conflicts of interest.
Well, look, the Biden administration has made methane emission reduction a big part of its climate plan. And always a conflict in the US between the federal powers and state powers. Any ideas on how that's going to play out?
If the Biden administration comes in with EPA, that will, forgive me, trump state regulation. And so the Railroad Commission will either go along with the EPA or will just be left by the wayside.
Is there any chance that the Texas government will sue the federal government if that happens? I mean, remember back to President Barack Obama's Clean Power Plan that was regulating emissions from electricity generation, and Texas, I think, was one of the leaders in the lawsuit against that. Is this government in Texas, led by Governor Greg Abbott, they seem like not very Washington friendly. Would they undertake a suit?
Well, it's really not up to Abbott. It would be the State Attorney General, Ken Paxton, and I think he's got maybe a dozen suits pending against the federal government. Even filing a suit against the Trump administration. So if there's a lawyer and a postage stamp, yeah, there'd be a lawsuit.
Great. Well, Ed, thank you very much for your insights. Always appreciated.
My pleasure.